Hi there, my name is Brooks from Character Design Forge. I've been making comics since 2009, and my most recent comic, Denizen, is just wrapping up its second chapter. So I wanted to talk about some of the things that I've learned in the practice of making comics. The art on screen is a standalone illustration of one of the characters from Chapter 1 of Denizen. The first thing that I've learned is that doing the work the day of or night before something is supposed to go up is infinitely harder. There's something about the pressure of something needing to be done that really makes the process of making comics really unenjoyable. Now, with Denizen, I completely finished Chapter 1 and then posted the entirety of it all at once. But with Chapter 2, I've been releasing a page a week. And because I'm not working far enough ahead, I find that I'm spending more time per page than I was with Chapter 1, simply because I haven't been as prepared. The amount that procrastination can kill the joy of working on comics is sometimes enough that you question wanting to make them in the first place. So moving into Chapter 3, I really need a game plan. One page a week may not seem like that big of a commitment, but each page takes 6 to 8 hours, and unlike the teenage me, comics aren't the only thing that I'm committing to each week. I have videos for Character Design Forge, client work, and other responsibilities, and as soon as I can get these things sustainable enough, I have plans to make even more on a weekly basis. So batching the work is really the way to go. After you've written your pages, get really rough thumbnails of what you'd like to happen on each panel down, and go through every page sketching, then adding the finished work in color, rendering, etc. That way your brain can stay on one of these tasks at a time without switching gears. I actually think that Chapter 1 looks a lot better than Chapter 2 overall. I think there's a lot to be desired, at least in my eyes, in Chapter 2, and a lot of that has to do with how pre-planned the work for Chapter 1 was. Another thing that I've learned is having character sheets and layouts of your environments are really essential if you're going to be replicating them. When you have a character sheet to reference, or a map or similar layout for your environment, it only benefits the consistency of your artwork and will tend to give the reader a better sense of the place your comic is taking place in. Another thing that really helps is to have a clear-cut aim and goal of where you want to go with your comic. In the past, the comic that I used to make was really all over the place. There were short-form jokes, explorations of the characters, and then longer-form stories that tried to combine comedy and storylines. Now, there's a number of reasons why I stopped my original comic. I felt like I had outgrown it, the amount of work and responsibilities I had was building up quickly, but I think one of the major demotivating factors for it ending was that I really had no idea where it was going. That meant that instead of holding things toward a conclusion, the comic waned until I stopped working on it altogether. Now, the amount that you're thinking ahead is all up to personal preference. I know that for me, starting Denizen, I wanted to make sure that the story had a clear-cut ending. I've known up front that the story will be 6 chapters long, and I've plotted out carefully each of those chapters. Small things can change along the way, but the major beats have been set up from the beginning. In a story, this only serves to create a stronger finished product. Your comic may not be a self-contained story, or it may not necessarily have a planned ending, but if you're planning on it carrying on indefinitely, kind of the way that a television show may do for years until it's canceled, then you need to make sure that your characters, situation, and structure have legs. I'd love to talk more about storytelling in the future. It's something my wife and I talk about a lot. She's a much better authority on that kind of thing, but simply remember that your audience is along for the ride too. Things need to be understandable, clear, and twists and turns are really only as strong as their plausibility. The last thing that I want to talk about is your audience. Now, part of it is growing older, but when I was younger, with my old comic, I feel as though I acted much too smugly toward the people who were appreciating my work. I think part of it was trying to maintain a sort of persona that I was as witty as the comic is, but it absolutely came across as though the audience was privileged to appreciate my work, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Growing an audience for the things that you've made takes a long time and a lot of hard work. You know yourself with how much there is out there competing for your attention, how hard it is to find and keep people that appreciate your work. Look at this YouTube channel. I've been showing up daily and then weekly for a few months now. And these aren't thousands of people watching these videos. There's hundreds. But think about how amazing that is. Think about all of those people in the same room who have been kind and gracious enough to give you their attention, something that is getting harder and harder to attract. If there are 50 people, 10 people, 5, or even 2 people that appreciate the thing that you're doing, think about the fact that those aren't just followers or subscribers. Those are people. You aren't entitled to their attention, so make sure you let them know how much you appreciate it. Respond to their questions, comments, let them know how valued they are to you. When you treat people well, that opens you up to a future of not just a larger audience, but a high-quality one. Well, even in talking about the things that I've learned from making comics now, I'm realizing that there's so much more that I can talk about, but I'll reserve that for another day. If you can take away these 2 things from my experience, preparation and appreciation, you'll be well on your way to making great stories yourself. I'm making new videos every week at characterdesignforge.com. Subscribing on YouTube lets you know when new videos are made available. As always, I'd love to hear your questions and struggles when it comes to art and character design. So send me a message or leave a comment. Thank you for watching, and have fun creating.